We're joined by Vernon Davis, former Washington tight end, NFL tight end, to talk about his latest project. And of course, we're talking a little Washington Commanders football right now on today's bonus episode of Locked On Commanders.
Your daily podcast on the Washington Commanders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome, Commanders fans, to this bonus episode of the Locked On Commanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is your daily podcast covering the Washington Commanders, sometimes twice daily, free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and the WUSA 9 Plus app on your Roku or your Amazon Fire Stick. And we thank you for making us your first listen or your first view of the day. I'm David Harrison, credentialed member of the media covering your Washington Commanders for Commander Country, part of Sports Illustrated's FanNation. You can find me there or here or on Twitter at dharrison82. Coming up on today's episode, Vernon Davis, former Washington, former NFL tight end, joins me to talk a little bit of Washington Commanders, a little bit of football, but also fill us in on his latest project, a movie where he plays a serial killer. You're not going to want to miss it. Here it is. Joined now on the Locked On Commanders podcast by Vernon Davis, former NFL tight end, 4 seasons with Washington in the late 2010s, of course, Maryland DMV product. A lot more time around Washington than in the franchise. 14 years total playing football at the highest level. Vernon, you know a thing or two about this NFL franchise that I host a show about, obviously. Let's start off right there real quick. What do you see when you look at the state of the Washington Commanders today?
I feel like they have a lot of great players. I feel like they've done well with making sure that they could just making sure they bring the right guys in from just a personality and just like when it comes to players, I'm trying to put this. So when it comes to players, you want guys in the locker room that can inspire other guys that are great locker room guys and not just guys who are good on the football field. And they've done that, and they're continuing to do that. And I think they've done a wonderful job. And I only have nothing but respect for the Commanders because not just because I played there, but also because of how they're navigating and bouncing back from all the things that we hear about in the media. But I think they're handling it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to talk more about the team and the state that kind of they're in right now and moving forward. But you also have some things going on of your own, of course, that we also want to talk about. Most importantly today, a movie coming out called The Ritual Killer, where you play a character named Randoku. First of all, what can you tell us about the film and what can you share with us about the character?
Yeah, I play a character named Randoku. The film is a great film. It's based on a true story. There's a tribe in South Africa who's harvesting body parts. And in this film, you'll see Randoku as the antagonist. He's the guy that Morgan Freeman, Cole Hauser is going after, but he take a visit to see Dr. Mackles, which is played by Morgan Freeman, to try to figure out how to stop Randoku from killing and harvesting body parts. Yeah. My character Randoku is he has an accent, like he's a South African dialect. He also speaks a little Zulu in the film when you see it, and he's tough. He's very skilled, and he thinks out. He's really strategic about who he's going after and what he's going after. So depending on what you're looking for, if someone from corporate is going to Randoku, they're probably having issues with some part of themselves as far as their brain, their eyes. Maybe they want to see better, right? Maybe they want better eyes. So Dr. Randoku is going to find someone who has good eyes, and he's going to harvest their body parts and he's going to make it into a tea so that the person who's interested can drink it and become powerful and have better eyes.
Yeah, you know what, you talk about the eyes, man. When I got to see the movie, I was watching it. My wife was with me, and there's a part and this is in the trailer, so I know I can talk about this. You're in a bar and you're talking to a bartender named Terry, and you say to her, "I like your eyes." And man, I have 2 daughters, and I literally turned to my wife and I said, "If our daughters didn't get out of that bar in that moment, like, oh my goodness, like that was like I felt scared for her." And I think that's kind of like the objective as an actor, right? Like that's what you want to do is bring the audience into that moment. I put my daughters in that moment. I'm like, man, you better get out of there. What's the process like? I mean, you mentioned like the dialects and the reality, the true story that that this is based in something that happens. And I don't want to give away too much, obviously, but even in the beginning of the movie, Morgan's character kind of talks about like how different cultures and it might surprise you. Being in our culture, what you see from other cultures, what is it like getting into the process to play a character like that?
You have to have something really, really deep that's inside your soul. You know what I mean? Like you really have to become that character.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's something that has to be really bothering you to become that kind of character. You know what I mean? And in the space like that, you have to ask yourself, what's something that I can use to really bring out the best in this character, right? And for me, as growing up as a kid, I'll give you kind of the backstory. So growing up as a kid, I grew up in Washington, D.C., Northwest Washington, D.C., and my mom was on drugs. So as a kid, I vividly remember having this feeling when I saw my mom the first time in an alley being served by someone I grew up with, right? And I had this like I just wanted it to stop. I was really mad. I was really upset, and I held on to it. And in this film, in my eyes, that's what I was holding on to. I wanted to this character. I was like, how can this character kill everyone? Make this character. And for me, I wanted to, going back, I imagined that I was going after everyone for killing my mom, because my mom died in 2021. So I had to use that. So basically the guys who were serving her drugs that I knew, I had to go and seek redemption for what they did to my mom. So I had to believe that was actually happening, believe it was true inside of my my mind and my heart.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I mean, that's intense. I'm sorry for your loss, obviously, but I mean, I'm glad that you were able to tap into it. You know what I mean, to kind of help it shine through the character, because I think we've all seen a lot of athletes go into acting, right? But sometimes and no disrespect to anybody for what they're doing for their craft, but sometimes it looks like a football player who is in a movie. You definitely. I mean, you're an actor. You know what I mean? You're an actor portraying a character, and I think that explains really well kind of how you were able to do it. You don't look like a football player in a movie. You look like an actor in a movie, which I think obviously is the point. So I appreciate you opening that up as well. I do want to ask you kind of the Tom Brady question. I also cover the Buccaneers, so I always kind of feel bad a little bit sometimes where I ask the Tom Brady question, because it gets asked all the time. But you got a chance to work with Morgan Freeman, obviously, one of the main characters in this movie. What was that like? Is that the first time you met Morgan, or have you met him before? What was that kind of like, that process?
It was actually my first time working with him. Yeah, he was unbelievable, man. 80 something years old. He had the most energy on set. He would come in. He was the first one on set in rehearsals, and he was the last one to leave because he wanted to ask all these questions. Because normally what happens when you're rehearsing and the director may tell you to do something, but then as an actor, you try to figure out, okay, why do you want that? Why am I? It doesn't. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, right? But so you have to figure out what's going on. You have to do your research and just have a great understanding of why the director wanted you to make this choice, right? So that's why he's great. That's why he's great. So when I saw that, I was like, wow, this dude is impressive. This is amazing. He can go right back to his trailer like any A-lister. He can take his time getting the set, but he didn't do that. He chose not to do that. And that means a lot. That's big. That's huge.
Yeah. I could only imagine working with. He's one of those guys. I'm sure you've seen like the memes and stuff online where like he's got that voice, that presence about him, that voice from his career where like he says something and just sounds more intelligent, and he could probably tell you a lie and it comes across as factual in your brain just because of kind of who he is and the way that he carries himself. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Commanders is brought to you by Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious treat but you don't want all the fat and the calories, you've got to try Built Bar, because with Built, health is actually tasty. Healthy is actually tasty, and they're so delicious you're not going to realize that they're good for you. Covered in 100% chocolate with unbelievable flavors like churro and peanut butter brownie, while only carrying 130 calories, just 4 grams of sugar, but 17 grams of healthy protein. For years, we've been telling you to go to built.com, but now you can go to Walmart and get yourself a 4-bar box, or you can go to Sam's Club and find a 13-bar box of some of the greatest flavors Built has to offer. Of course, you can still go online and find some of your favorites at built.com, such as gluten-free brownie batter puff or the all-new mint brownie puff. Whatever your preference, grab yourself a Built Bar. Built difference. Another person accomplished, possibly the most accomplished hire that the Washington Commanders have ever made individually. Eric Bieniemy, multiple time Super Bowl winning offensive coordinator, now also the assistant head coach of the Commanders. What did you think? What did you think about that news when that came around, that it was going to become a real deal here in Washington?
Yeah, like I said before, these guys, that when it comes to Commanders, I strongly believe in them. I know a lot of people are doubting them and just trying to come up with different ways to patronize the Commanders, because they haven't really been a winning team in years. But I don't see it that way. It's, in order to get to the top, you have to be at the bottom, right? And you have to go through certain things to be able to appreciate what you went through. And I think that, like I said, the players they have in the locker room are really defined. They have character. They have everything you need, and a great player and a great person. They have that. They've done that. Now they have to just continue to build on that and bring in the right pieces to help make this organization a winning organization. And I think they're doing just that. So I believe in them. I'm excited for them. I'm happy. I can't wait to see what this year is going to bring.
Absolutely. And obviously EB has had some success with tight ends during his coaching career. Travis Kelce, but also some of the things they do with Noah Gray there in Kansas City are pretty impressive. Logan Thomas is the veteran in the room, so he's undergone some coaching changes and coordinator changes in his career. But a lot of those guys are in the tight end room right now are young. So when there is a new coach or a new coordinator change, whether it's because you're going somewhere new or someone new is coming in, you've done both of those things in your career. Where would you give them advice? Where would you say their focus needs to be in order to acclimate to their new coach, coordinator, play caller, but also do it in a way to be the most successful?
As a player, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think you asked questions. You asked, like I was talking about. I can relate this to the Morgan Freeman story. Like he's coming in early, he's leaving later, and he's asking questions. Once you ask questions and you get to know the offensive coordinator, understand what he wants from you, and just be a student of the game. Be a student of the game. Get to know him. You guys cultivate a relationship, and you go out and you win as one, right? But you have to be on the same page. You have to understand, and the offense coordinator has to know you, not just a football player, as a person. But yeah, if I'm the player, I'm getting to know that offense coordinator, because I want to become his friend. I want to get close to him so that we can work together and we can communicate effectively.
Absolutely. Now, during your playing career, you worked on some projects, some Hollywood projects, even while you were still playing. Even your retirement, right, was done in acting and a skit performance. So obviously the acting side of things has kind of been with you for a little while now. When did you decide that you were going to make a run at Hollywood as a full-time pursuit once your playing days were over?
Well, I didn't really know. I knew what I had a goal, I had a vision, but I didn't really know how it was going to unfold. I just relied on faith, and I said, I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to do this and just see what happens. So when I got done with the Commanders in 2019, 2020 rolled around. It was February. I had walked away from the facility by then, and a buddy of mine had a script called Red Winter. We went out to Colorado, and we filmed a movie, and after that, I felt like I learned a lot. That was quite the journey, filming especially those night scenes, getting up at 8 p.m. to go on set and finishing at 5 or 6 in the morning. That was a real test for me. And, I struggled. I didn't know how I was going to be able to get through that night because I never done anything like that, but with the background that I have from training camp days and just staying up late, studying, having long days on the football field and in those meetings really helped me get through that night. And from there, I was like, wow, this is, I got through it. Now it's time to go on to the next one. And I went to I did my next film, A Message from Brianna. Then after that, I was in films with Bruce Willis twice. I went on to the next one. And it was like an olive tree. Projects just kept falling.
Today's bonus episode of the Locked On Commanders podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. With the NBA season nearing the playoff push, now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because new customers, you get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money line to point scores and threes drained. You can even bet on division winners, conference winners in the NBA, or if you already know who the finals winner is going to be, go ahead and put some money on that. FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets if you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you've got more coming up, right? I mean, at least according to your IMDb profile, I don't honestly know how accurate IMDb is. I don't know if that's the kind of the equivalent of like stat scouting for the movie world, for the Hollywood world. But you've got some other projects coming up as well, right?
Yes. I got multiple projects coming up. I got some cool ones, a big one, possibly another one with Morgan Freeman, and so I'm just gearing up for that. I got my script and just getting ready. But yeah, it's exciting. It's gonna be fun.
All right. Well, we look forward to those as well. But this one called The Ritual Killer, available now today in theaters, also on demand. So make sure you guys check that out. Again, Vernon, when I watched, it was a great experience watching it. I was very grateful to get to watch that. And like I said, some very intense moments in that movie. So credit to you. I don't know how you guys do it. I know that I couldn't be an actor. So I greatly appreciate those of you guys who do. Last question I have before we let you go, though. So The Rock, right? So Dwayne Johnson, he went from football to wrestling to acting. Now, one of these scenes, and I don't know how many of your own stunts you do and all that stuff, but you put a pretty good hit on Cole Hauser. At least your character did. If that was your stunt double, you can let me know. But have you put any thoughts into going to wrestling? Because you're obviously still in shape. I know some injury concerns and things like that as you get older. But like, have you thought about making that avenue into wrestling?
No, that's not for me. A lot of the stunts in The Ritual Killer, I'd say most of them that you see, as far as me running into Cole Hauser and all those things, that was pretty much me. I did a bunch of the things. I did a bunch of the stunts myself because they didn't really. Yeah, some of it was challenging, like going down the side of a building, and
I saw that. Yeah,
it was. I had to do it multiple times, but being that I have that an athletic background, it made it. It was seamless for me. It was seamless, but something that I would want to do in every film. I would want to do all of my stunts every film. It's a lot. It's a lot, man. I just want to get the work done and get in, get out, and get back to my trailer.
Absolutely. Understandable. So no Vernon Davis or WrestleMania coming up, guys, but you do have them again in The Ritual Killer, available in theaters and on demand, and even more projects coming up. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Vernon, hopefully we can talk about those projects as well. We appreciate you sitting down with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again, everybody, for making a Locked On Commanders podcast first listen to your first view of the day. Highly recommend that you go view this new movie from Vernon Davis. It was a very good movie. Very happy that I got to see it and speak to Vernon about it. If you don't do that very next thing here, make your next listen or your next view the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, where Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez are providing you in-depth coverage of the biggest NFL draft prospects with deep dives into the sleepers and hidden gems that can change your favorite NFL franchise. Find Locked On NFL Draft wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Let me know what you think of the movie if you go see it. Let me know what you think of Vernon Davis and his comments down here in the YouTube comments if you're watching us on YouTube, or hit us up in the DMs at LO Commanders on Twitter or at DHarrison82 on Twitter, and let me know what you're thinking, how you're doing, and what you want to talk about. Signing off for today, I'm David Harrison, staff writer for Commander Country of Sports Illustrated's FanNation. You can find me there, here, or on Twitter, again, at DHarrison82. Until we speak again, if you're out and about, please be safe. Please be kind to one another, and we'll see you next time right here for the next episode of Locked On Commanders.